why now? Like, why now release the document? I found it curious, King Charles, for the first time in 500 years, visiting the Vatican and praying with the Pope. Do you find any correlation or link at all that they might have something, that visit might have some connection?
Yeah, and there could be connections there. I wouldn't be able to definitively know, but in terms of speculation, even, I think you're implying a very good, strong point. And if I'm reading it correctly, and the point is, we shouldn't compromise the totality of truth simply for ecumenical relations. I'm a Catholic who, I'm Orthodox, but I've never considered myself, a traditionalist, right? Latin Mass traditionalist, for example. But recently I saw an interview on Pines with Aquinas with Dr. Peter Kwasniewski, who's a very prominent traditionalist writer. And he made certain arguments, which I'm going to connect to this debate, that shocked me. They were disturbingly illuminating. He was very intelligently critical of aspects of liturgical reform at Vatican II, and he was emphasizing how much reform happens in order to satisfy ecumenical relations, Protestant sensibilities, like the reality that the opening prayer in the Holy Mass or in the Confiteor, that it used to have, in its language, an invocation of not just, I confess, dear brothers and sisters, but I confess to the Blessed Virgin Mary, to Saint Michael, to Saint John the Baptist, and that all that was removed. And if this is true in terms of what he was implying, that these sacred prayers were watered down, that the liturgy was watered down to appeal to Protestant sensibilities, then I think that's scandalous. That's absolutely scandalous, because you are appealing to a, politely speaking, our brothers and sisters, but, practically speaking, sects that come from satanic origins. When you disavow the church, when you disavow the priesthood, when you disavow the Holy Eucharist, when you disavow devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary, the origin is satanic. There's no question about that. And so the question of, has the church at times compromised too much for ecumenical purposes? Because one of the things in this interview that Matt Fradd brought up, which I thought was a stunning point, he said that, it's easy for us to acknowledge that the 60s and the 70s had a horrible influence on so many aspects of the church, from the ugly modern architecture to so many priestly and religious sisters' vocations being lost, so many priests and sisters leaving their vocations, to seminary formation being very impoverished. But for some reason, he said it's so difficult for people to talk about it in relation to liturgy, as if liturgy also suffered as a result of it. Now, bringing that conversation back to this one, if what is happening here with this document, if there's any connection, to that appealing to Protestant sensibilities for a greater ecumenical mission, then that is sad. That is very sad, because we do not want to reduce the sacred and sublime dignity of Our Lady to appeal to, millions of people who have a defective theology. We should not be playing a game under that precondition of rules that I need to not offend these millions who have a defective theology. I mean, when the Assumption was solemnly defined as a dogma, that was one of the major concerns, that Protestants will be offended that you're saying that Jesus ascended and now Mary assumed. Are you equating them? And the reality is that you want to be able to articulate the truth of Catholic teaching without taking shame in it, without compromising. And what it would do, I believe, is actually have a stronger appeal, because people are drawn to conviction, not to compromise. When you speak your faith, when you identify it strongly, when you have deep conviction in it, that's what draws them. I don't know, I'm not as big of a devotee as Dr. Maravelli to the Our Lady of Nations apparition, so I do not know whether there'll be a new Pentecost, new outpouring of graces if the dogma gets defined, the Fifth Marian dogma. But certainly to be open to that possibility, as opposed to going the other way and focusing so
it's interesting your point that that people are drawn to the Catholic Church because of the guidelines, because of the strict boxes, because statistics show that the Church of England, in England, they're all headed back to the Catholic Church. There's a flood, and it's a lot of young men, going back to the Catholic Church. So it's all very interesting, because we've got King Charles first time, and someone said 700 years, but 500 years. Either, it's huge. It's a huge event. That was huge. And the implications, and then we get this document, and Catholics are kind of scratching their head going, where'd this come from? So, yeah.
Welcome to Mother and Refuge at the End Times. We are thrilled to announce our Mother and Refuge pilgrimage to Medjugorje. We are traveling to Medjugorje for the historic 45th anniversary of the apparitions of the Queen of Peace. This momentous pilgrimage will be held between June 22nd, 2026 and June 29th, 2026, with the option of continuing to Rome and Garabandal. This first ever Mother and Refuge pilgrimage will be hosted by Totally Yours Pilgrimages and will be led by our very own beloved channel host and chaplain, Father Dom Francis. Other Mother and Refuge team members will also be present, such as Rafael Vilanco, Ron Ray, and others, for an unbeatable price of only $2,995, including flights from the U.S., transportation, lodging, and 2 daily meals, or $1,795 for a land-only package suitable for those joining us from outside of the USA. This is a once-in-a-lifetime pilgrimage. Please register as soon as possible so that you do not miss out. Please visit this website to register. As always, we thank you so much for your support. May God bless you and keep you, and may the Immaculate Heart of Mary be your refuge.